Oh, hey, and we're live. So,
There we
welcome to
go.
episode number 112 of Mirrorless Minutes. Mike is, I don't know where Mike is. I can't keep track of the guy. If he's not sitting in front of the camera for this show, I have no idea where he is. He's probably somewhere else in the country, knowing Mike. So, instead of having Mike on, I've got Jerry James on. Jerry's a returning guest to Mirrorless Minutes, and he's a local photographer here in Michigan. He's part of what I like to call like my West Side connection. Lives on the west side of the state near Lake Michigan. If you follow along on some of my journeys, you'll have seen him in some of the photos from this past weekend out exploring the ice. Jerry has been shooting with Olympus products for quite a while now, and it's kind of shaped his journey a little bit, I think, as a photographer. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about, where he began. For some of you who have hung around with Jerry, shot with Jerry, or watched the episode where he was on, some of this may sound familiar, but there definitely be some new additions to his story since then. If you're a new listener or have not followed Jerry on our show in the past or know him, through his online presence, it'll be an interesting listen for you as well. So I just want to say, hey, welcome aboard, Jerry. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me back again, man.
Definitely glad to have you back. It's funny because we were just shooting like a couple of days ago.
Right.
I just kind of want to get everybody a little bit of background on you as a photographer. So let's just start off from the beginning. Like, how long have you been shooting for? And like, how did you get started? What was your first set of gear? How about that? We'll go with those questions first.
All right. I started off doing video maybe around 2002, somewhere around there. So I actually was shooting on a Sony, one of the handy cams that took film.
Okay, yeah.
And it took 8 hours to transfer video over from film to your computer because you had to replay all the video you shot and record it.
Yeah.
So I used to enter video contests, and it got to the point, and I was doing mini movies and stuff like that, and it got to the point where I couldn't find nobody that wanted to spend time acting in my movies. So I was like, you know what? Screw you guys. And so I got into doing photography because then I only needed one person, right? So I started off doing portraits, and when it got time to the models not showing up or they're busy and they can't do this, this day, and then I ventured off into landscape because then I was like, you know what? The lighthouse is always there.
Yeah, true.
So then I started doing landscape, man. And I've always kind of been an outdoors person, but it was just so relaxing to be outside and it don't matter the weather. I mean, you know me, I'll lay in 6 inches of snow and be happy. Yeah. But, I mean, so the landscape stuff really, I really went hard on that for a long time after that. And then I still do portraits. I do a mixture of both. You know what I'm saying? I probably little landscape, a little more, but I still shoot a lot of portraits too.
Cool. So you got your start with a handy cam, which is the first time I've heard that photography journey story, that you started off like 100% video person.
Right.
Yeah, cool. It's definitely a cool transition to go from moving subjects, literally like the whole premise of everything is moving, to still subjects. So you started off with the Sony Handycam. Did you transition from the Sony Handycam into like Sony cameras or another system?
No,
first?
I went to actually my first DSLR was an Olympus E10. What is it? The older
like an E500 or E500?
E500 because the 510 came out right after that. Right. Cool. So I borrowed that camera from a friend.
Sweet.
And he bought it, never really used it. I was like, let me use it. So then I started shooting with it. And then after that, I ended up buying a Nikon. So I was shooting Nikon for a while. And then I went to Sony Mirrorless when them came out. And then Sweet. I shot Sony Mirrorless for, a handful of years. And then I went over to Olympus where I'm at now.
Cool. So it sounds like you got into the Sony mirrorless like kind of early in the mirrorless days.
Yeah.
Then. So were you nervous about transitioning away from DSLR? I mean, were there things about mirrorless that you thought, man, this is kind of cool, maybe I want to go this way?
No, I like the EVF. The EVF is so I didn't get image stabilization until I believe I got a Sony A7 II.
Okay.
And so I mean the EVF was cool. And I mean the A6000 really didn't have a whole lot more that DSLRs didn't have other than the EVF and some focus peaking and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't a huge difference. I thought it was cool, you know. I'm like, yo,
Oh,
I
yeah,
can
for sure.
see my pictures now before I even take them. You know what I mean?
So here's a question then. In your photographic journey here, so when you switched over to mirrorless, did you have like everything down pat, like you just kind of knew how everything worked, or did having an EVF help you learn faster? Because I know for me, I was pretty competent, I think, you know, by the time I jumped into mirrorless, but I think my learning sped up like a lot faster, like just seeing what my changes did and just kind of getting an understanding for what a scene required. You know, after doing it a few times with the EVF, you kind of get a feel for, oh, you know, if it looks like this outside, and I know I'm at, you know, f5.6, I know my shutter speed's going to be around here. Did it help with your learning, do you think, having an EVF?
No, not really.
No.
Once you learn the exposure triangle, it's I mean, it's kind of like riding a bike. You know what I mean? It don't matter what bike it is.
Yeah.
You know, you can ride it.
Right.
So
it didn't speed that learning process up, though. You were already there. You already knew how to ride the bike.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. So then you ended up with an Olympus. How did you? What did that end up being? What were you starting off with Olympus?
So I bought, because I wasn't sure, because I was shooting Sony full frame. And that was actually the day I met you guys in Little Sabo. And it was Seth and Mark, I believe, and Travis and them. And everybody was showing me the cool live composites. They're like, hey, check this out, come here. And everybody was showing me. I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. So I went home and I did a little research. And then, you know, some people were saying, oh, the images are noisy and blah, 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 blah. I was like, I can fix noise. So if you remember I asked you to send me a couple raw files so I could play around with them.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with this. So I ordered a refurbished EM10 because I was like, I don't want to jump all the way in. So I'll spend, you know, $300 on a refurb.
Yep.
And I shot that thing for a month. And then I was like, yo, these pictures are crazy sharp. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to, and I was like, I'm going to go full blown. And I sold all my Olympus stuff or my Sony stuff and bought all my Olympus gear.
Sweet. Yeah. So that, and when you first got that, were you shooting on a kit lens too?
Yeah, that was a kit lens. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And that was crazy because I was like, yo, this is a kit lens and this shit is sharp. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine you put some real glass on here.
Yep. Sweet.
Right.
So you started shooting with that. And I at that point, you know, we had started shooting together a little more. I mean, not like all the time, not as frequent as we do now, I guess. But so as you started shooting more and more with it, you started getting more traction, maybe in the Olympus community, you know, getting noticed and things like that. And I know that along the way, you've had a few things that kind of came up because of, you know, shooting with Olympus, the kind of work that you're putting out, the quality of work that you're putting out, kind of got you some recognition there. So what are some things that have come about since you've started shooting with this brand in particular? And do you have any kind of tips for anybody, you know, to kind of point them in the right direction of things that they could be doing to help get them noticed like you got noticed?
I would say shoot a lot. I mean, you know, dude, I post every day, sometimes multiple times a day. On the weekends, there's some weekends I pull a 12-hour day just out shooting. You know what I mean? Set up, you know, and then it come home for maybe dinner and leave again and shoot at night. Post a lot. You know, I stay in their face. I'm always tagging them in my photos. I post every day. You know what I mean? And you just got to stay active, man, and keep grinding.
I think that is like super good advice. A lot of people don't realize the importance of staying in front of a company, and it's not just Olympus, it's any company. If you're interested in any company, you need to don't feel like you're annoying them because you're basically giving them free advertising when you promote their stuff. If you're like ridiculously prolific about promoting it, it's a good thing. So yeah, that's a good tip, I think, is to post a lot.
Yeah, I shoot a lot and post a lot. I mean, you know.
Jeremy Clark in the chat room says So you made this switch, and then you talked your close friends into leaving Sony and jumping into Olympus.
Almost all my friends went over to Olympus.
Nice.
I brought them all over. I mean, it's cool, man. We all shoot the same stuff.
I know how that goes for sure.
Right.
It's like we're just disease spreaders. Good disease, though.
Right. I mean, they all seem to like them. I mean, everybody falls in love with the live composite. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard not to. It's funny, you know, because that's one of those things that I always considered, you know, that's our thing. That's the landscape people's thing. And then you've got somebody like Joe Edelman that goes out there and says,
Dude, that was like, with it. But I watched him at the thing, and I was like, yo, this dude's like painting his model. I was like, what the hell? That's crazy.
Yep, it's super cool. I love that, you know, that you get somebody from a completely different angle looking at a feature like that and saying, man, now what can I do with this?
I like Joe, man. He's creative, man. He's super good at what he does.
For certain. So you started getting recognized. You're prolific, you know, and we should probably say, don't just post a million things a day without posting like the very best every time you do it too. So you're posting quality, you're posting quantity with quality, and then you start to get noticed. So like, what are some things that have happened since getting noticed by Olympus that you've got to do or experience or be a part of, or that have benefited you even?
I mean, shoot, San Francisco, man, we were both there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Flew me out to San Francisco, and we got to shoot. And
so what was that? That was the super fan experience. You know, again, there might be some people that watch this. We've got a lot of people that listen that are new. We've just picked up a ton of subscribers recently. So explain to them what the title that you were given was and what became of that, like what that has led to for you.
They labeled us super fans.
Well, I know it's not like everybody's favorite title to be like a fan, but how about like super users? I would consider you guys super users.
Right. I mean, it was cool, man. They flew us out, and we got to shoot San Francisco, man, and they took us a lot of cool spots and let us run wild with cameras.
Nice. So, and it seems like because of that, you already had a connection with them, and then you get like lumped into this group of like talented photographers, people who are like super supportive of the brand. So you get some recognition for it. You know, you get a reward for it, which is super cool.
For sure.
Because they know the value. They know the value of what you guys are doing. You know, you're a great advertising arm of the brand. Right. So they reward you with this cool trip. Definitely. And I think because you guys were part of that, like now you're even tighter with the company. So you've had some other things happen since San Francisco that are definitely worth talking about. You want to talk about any of that stuff? Any kind of
I was featured in a couple magazines for shooting the Olympus gear. So one of them was about live composite. I don't know, they both were actually, because one of them was lightning and the other one was a Star Trail shot. Basically just, you know, asked me what I thought about the cameras and the live composite modes, and they did a write-up about it. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool. So it's kind of nice to be able to create your work, your craft, your art, get to explain to people what it means to you, what it is, you know, how you took it, what the thought process was behind it, and then it ends up in magazines. Not a bad, and all because you're just active and you share a lot. So that's the big tip. That's the big takeaway tonight from everybody is don't share for a week and then say, oh, this isn't working, and then just stop. You know, you got to figure Jerry.
You got to be picky on what you share too. Like I take a lot of pictures and a lot of them don't make the cut. You know, I mean, I pick the best of the best, and that's what you guys see. Right. I'm not posting no dubs. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you got to make sure you crank out some quality content too. Yep.
I know. There was a guy that was really tightly affiliated with Olympus for a while when I was first getting, you know, in good with the brand, I guess. And one day I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to ask him. I said, look, and this guy was significantly younger than me. I think at the time, this was almost 10 years ago. So I think he was probably 18 at the time. And I asked him, I said, look, have you been shooting since birth? Like, how is your work this insanely good? I said, I don't ever see anything that's not perfect. Right. And he says, as you see one picture out of 200 pictures.
Right. Exactly.
I took that to heart. So yeah, I guess, another takeaway from this is you can shoot 300 pictures. You personally know which ones are your best ones out of there. Right. While you might be tempted to share 200 of those pictures, just share those 3 best ones, right?
Slow down, and when you post-process and slow down, I find that sometimes I'm too excited. I'm ready to get these photos out for people to see, and then I post them, and I'm like, oh, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't take some out of the shot, or the white balance might be a little off, or oh, damn, is that horizon crooked? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, exactly.
When you post-process and get them right before you put them out. That's huge, because I know a lot of people that do that.
Rush. It's funny because especially if you're in a photographic community like we're in, where there's a very popular region to shoot, and when conditions are right for things to just be awesome, and I'll just throw storm season out there because that was like my big thing last year, was rushing to your side of the state as the storm's coming off the lake, and I'd get out to the pier and there'd be 20 photographers out there. And then that by the time I get back home at 2 a.m, there's already 20 pictures on the internet at 1 a.m, because they did what you said. They rushed to get something out.
Right. Yeah, so, I'm to the point now where I don't even care if I get mine up the same day anymore. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
Take my time.
Slow and steady.
And I mean, I'll go out and I'll end up with, because me, I don't sit still. I don't sit in one place.
No.
I walk.
You don't. So no.
I'll go home with 15 bangers, on the memory card. Got pictures for the whole week. You know what I mean? So
yeah, this past weekend, I know we were shooting in Grand Haven on the pier that was covered in ice. Probably seen some of the pictures online from both of us. And I turned around and you and Mark were gone. You guys are like, I heard somebody say, "Here come tourists" or something, and I turned around, you guys are completely gone. You're right. You don't sit still for long.
All right. Keep moving. Keep getting them shots, man.
Do you want to do like an image share? So we kind of talked about your beginnings in photography. Everything was, well, obviously video first, but then when you got into photography, it was landscapes, and you started getting into some portrait work. So how about we take a look at some of those, like those images, and then we'll kind of go on to where you're currently at with your photography. And before you share, Andrew Oki wants to know what you use to process your images, like what software are you running through right now?
I start everything off in Lightroom, and then I'll throw them over into Photoshop. It depends on what it is too.
Sure.
Like there'll be some landscape stuff, like then birds are a little distracting, so I'll pull the birds out. You can do that in Lightroom, but I prefer to do all that type of stuff in Photoshop. And so I'll go from Lightroom to Photoshop, and then I'll throw it back in Lightroom for a final tweak.
Cool.
And that's pretty much just those two. I don't usually use anything else.
I think that's probably a lot of people's kind of like workhorse workflow, as those two pieces of software. So go ahead.
Photoshop more when I'm doing portraits.
Okay.
For the skin retouching and removing blemishes and dodging.
So do you do like crazy things like frequency separation and all that stuff?
Right. So that's like landscape stuff don't get much of that. So yeah, mostly Lightroom for landscape.
Cool. So so if you want to go ahead and queue up some images, and we can kind of get a look at, what was your bread and butter, I guess, for the longest time, like what really motivated you. You have to bear with us, everybody. It's a pain in the butt to get this set up sometimes.
All right, what do you see? Do you see Lightroom?
We see you. You got to flip it over to the application.
Here we go. Yeah. It kept disappearing on me.
All right, there you go. I'm going to mute myself so that it just stays on your pictures.
All right. So, like I said, I started off doing portraits. Portraits is probably my favorite thing to do because they're unique. Everybody can go out to the lighthouse and line up and take a picture, and everybody's stuff looks the same. I find portraits a little more you know what I mean? Ooh. So what the heck did I just do? All right, there we go. All right, so this is a picture of my friend Corey. This was taken in a building where I had a studio at, and the whole wall was lined with these suitcases. And if you can look to the left, you can see the window. It's those glass bricks that you see in showers. So there is diffused lighting coming through. So I was like, yo, we got to go shoot the suitcase room, man. The lighting in there is killer. So we went in there and we got some shots like this. I thought these turned out pretty good. And then
a quick question on the shot with Corey. So what equipment were you using for that? Because I've been there and I know that wall is super close to her. Right. So the fact you got separation like that, I think people definitely benefit from
the 12 to 40. Yep, 12 to 40. I actually got all my stuff right here at 2.8. So, I shoot with that lens so much, man. Yo, I can't hear you, Jay.
That's because I muted myself.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not muted, every time I talk, it takes your pictures off the screen. So I just want everybody to see your stuff. So you can just you take the mic. It's all you.
Here's another picture I took of my friend Cassandra. This is 12 to 40 also. EM1 Mark II. Yep, 12 to 40 on this one. Oh no, this is 17 millimeter. That's right. This is 1.2. And I have a picture of my friend Taylor. This is 45 millimeter 1.2.
I'm gonna interrupt the sharing here just to make the observation that Jerry has a lot of friends that are female. I'm just gonna say. You could say that they're your models, okay?
Right. People that like me to take their picture. That's what we'll say. So this was really cool. She was actually changing in the car. So I went for a walk and I'm looking around and I saw this light peeking through these trees with this hole right here that you see. So when she got over there, she's like, what do you want me to do? I was like, you know what? Go around these trees and you see that light right there, stand right there. So I thought that turned out pretty cool. I was able to shoot through some trees and at 1.2, and I thought that turned out pretty cool. And then that's all I have for portraits that I loaded up for today. So we'll look at some landscape stuff.
Yeah, I know a lot of people see your landscape, so that'll definitely be good to start talking about those.
All right, so this one here, this is 12 to 40 at Pier Marquette, Muskegon, and this was 2 days, I think, before you guys showed up. Maybe the day before you guys showed up. I walked out to the lighthouse by myself, and as I was walking out, the sky broke up, and I got blue in the sky. I was like, yo, I am not leaving because the sun was about to go down. And I just laid down in the ice behind those, it looks like ice rocks or whatever you want to call them. Got low and shot up at this, and this is what I got. I thought it turned out pretty good. This is the other lighthouse in Muskegon. This is 40 to 150. And I was walking back to the car. I was actually out there. Me and Brian was shooting that day. And I saw the little brown grass sticking up. And I was like, yo, that really adds a little color to the foreground. And so if you notice anything about my landscape stuff, I always got stuff in the foreground. I like having stuff from front to back. So I saw the brown grass in there with the red lighthouse, and so I snagged that shot. I believe that's at probably 215 millimeters. And this is 40 to 150, I believe. Yes.
I like the framing on that a lot.
Right. So I shot through the trees, and I got a little low so I could get some of the grass in the foreground. And then I just threw one of my presets on there. And I think that preset's called Ice Cold. And I made that for, wintry type of shots. And then I have this one here. This is Grand Haven. So this is actually the preset that I use on a lot of my night stuff. Because it was almost nighttime and I was like, yo, this might look good. So I had to bump the brightness up a little bit, but this is my night preset. And I got low. I was on the North Pier, basically laid down and shot across the water. This is 40 to 150 as well. at 40 millimeters. So that is it for my landscape photos.
Super cool. Yeah, so it's funny. You and I talk quite a bit. So Tammy, that hashtag is for everything. So you can use that on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere that you're talking about Olympus on social media. If you use the hashtag Get Olympus, you're far more likely to get noticed. So also, I think a huge tip that doesn't get mentioned even nowhere near often enough is the Olympus user gallery on their website. Start contributing to that. Plus, you can earn points there to get like free swag. So definitely take advantage of that. So we're doing this a little bit differently as far as how the interview process works. You know, we did a little bit of talking and then we kind of interrupted it with an image share. And we're doing this because we're kind of following Jerry's journey as far as, you know, where he started. His heaviest focus, you know, early on was definitely in landscapes, and started doing, you know, more and more portrait work too. That started to pop up. So that's kind of why we did landscapes and portraits here. But lately, Jerry has kind of used, I think, all these experiences with working with like Olympus and working with brands, and just kind of has started developing relationships with other brands as well. So I know we could talk about one you're doing right now. Do you want to talk about that? Like what it is, like who the company is, how that came about, and what you're doing for them?
Right. So there's a company. It's a Michigan startup company. They're a clothing brand here, and I believe Kalamazoo. I could be wrong, but I think it's Kalamazoo. They reached out to me on Instagram. I was like, "Yo, would you like to shoot some stuff with some of your girls for our advertisement?" And I was like, "Yeah, send me some stuff for sure." So they sent me a few outfits, and then I got a hold of a few of the girls, and we went out and shot the stuff for them. And it just happened to be the week that it was, you know, sub-zero temperatures out there, so the girls are freezing, and here I am in a parka. But they were sports about it, you know what I mean? And we nailed out some shots for them, and I got them over to them. So they've been sharing them on social media. I don't know if they're going to make it to the website or whatever, but it was cool.
Super cool. So, and maybe I just totally missed it. Did you say how they found you?
Yeah, on Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram. Okay, cool. So do you know, so Instagram is like, oh my gosh.
Instagram's like hard.
It's like we have these offline conversations, Jerry and a few of us, we're constantly talking about Instagram, you know, the love-hate relationship with it. So do you think that they found you on Instagram because obviously it's because of your hashtags, right? They must have been looking for somebody that does work like in specific parts of the state, like the coastlines. You think that's what happened maybe?
I think maybe one of my features, maybe.
Okay.
I do. I don't know. I'm going to ask him because I don't know. Yep. I just got a message from him, but I get them all the time. You know what I mean? And some people are BSing, and then you get some people that actually come through.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another thing to talk about. So features. So you've had a few of those on Instagram as well. For people who don't know what a feature is, you want to talk about what a feature is and what it's like to be in one, and this is different than a takeover, I'm assuming, right? Or
yeah. You just get some of the. There's these things called feature accounts. Typically, depending on how long they've been around, but they got a pretty big following, and they'll give you a hashtag to use. So, like Pier Michigan, they're a tourist company, but they do feature artists' photos.
Cool.
So the Pier Michigan hashtag. Whenever you post a picture, use the Pier Michigan hashtag. If they like your photo, they'll reshare it with giving you credit. So, I mean, a lot of people find you that way. You know, when you get featured.
For those not in Michigan, Pure Michigan is the advertising arm for the Travel and Tourism Board here in Michigan. So their hashtag that's our state motto, is like Pure Michigan. So like Jerry said, use the hashtag for that. If Pure Michigan reshares your image or what have you, or your account name or whatever it is, their reach is, massive, hundreds of thousands, if not, million plus, because they'll be promoting stuff out of state as well to get you to come to our state. So I think probably a good piece of advice is figure out what the hashtag is for your state or your city. If you live, especially if you live in a bigger city. I mean, I live in a farm town. Like nobody's looking for hashtag Eaton Rapids. Maybe like the John Deere dealership or something. But so if you live in like, you know, Brooklyn, New York, you know, I'm sure there's like a hashtag Gotham or what, you know, whatever it is. What I don't know the New York stuff. But anyways, so doing what Jerry did, you know, using the relevant hashtags, getting features by huge accounts like Pure Michigan and other big brands here in Michigan, got noticed by more brands. And the initial being noticed by places like Pure Michigan is just a shout out, right? It's just kind of they share your work. It gets you a few more followers, but then for you, a brand, you know, kind of reaches out to you.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Super cool. So now you went from landscapes and doing portrait stuff it's kind of like more like a passion project, right? I mean, these girls that you're shooting, it's not necessarily because you're making money, is it?
Right,
it's more like your portfolio building. You like it.
Right. I mean, it's for my portfolio. It lets me express my creativity a little more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so it's funny because like you and I shot a fair amount, like for like 2 years. And then like in the last 6-7 months, like you're not as landscape heavy as you used to be, but I noticed you're kind of doing some other stuff. And I think it'd be a really cool time to share some of that. So we could probably share like, do you have any of the brand product sharing shoots?
Yeah, I got a few of those, and I got some of my night stuff on here too.
Okay, cool. Yep. And then so we can show like what examples of what it is the work you're doing for this clothing brand, and then into what your latest escape from reality is, your latest passion project.
All right, cool. Let me pull this.
So Steve Kunder says, being an old guy, he has to learn more about hashtags. So if you're brave, why don't you pop your age in there, buddy? We'll see if I'm older. I'm probably older than you think I am. So I'm going to mute my mic, Jerry, so you can go ahead and talk.
All right. So here we go. So the brand is Smoky Ridge Outfitters. They're a brand here in Michigan, and they do outdoor apparel. So they had some winter hats and some shirts that they sent to me, and here's a picture of Corey again, and with their hat and their shirt. And they just wanted some basic, just show the products. So Andrea, this is in Grand Haven, and it's nothing spectacular. It's a shirt and a hat, and here's one of Lex. And we just went out and got some promo stuff for them. And that's about it for those. I sent them a lot of photos, but these are the ones.
So real quick, I know you know how to work with lights. I see. Obviously I've been in your studio in Muskegon. But for things like this, it seems like a trend is to not be quite, so I don't know, I say like lit, like, with external lights so much as like, these are more like environmental shots, like you're in a place taking the portraits. Is that, so I'm assuming that's how you're working here, or are you using off-camera lighting?
No, you know me, man. I like packing light. I got 1.2 lens. I'm shooting at 1.2. No, there's no light here. This is all natural light.
Okay. Just check it. Never know. Yeah. Those 8200s are pretty portable, so I wasn't sure what you had going on.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Lately I've been shooting a lot of natural light, man. I like packing light, man.
So, so those are examples of what it's been like kind of working with this brand, what the gear looks like from them, and just kind of the vibe you're going for, this whole outdoor Michigan, outdoorsy kind of thing. But I want people to see kind of where your head has been at lately with this other genre of shooting you've been doing. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty pumped on it.
Right. So I like being out at night, and I've always liked street photography. It's never the same. It's always something different, whether it's people, you know what I mean? So I like just walking around and taking pictures of people. And so I came up with a preset that I use for a lot of my night stuff now. And I'll run around and shoot people at night, walking, in buildings with neons and stuff like that. And so here's a picture of a lady at the ice cream shop, and this was during Coast Guard Festival in Grand Haven. And I thought it was pretty cool how everything went from pitch black, and then as you get through the other side of the image, you get light and you get people, so it goes from nothing to this lady sitting here waiting for her ice cream. This one here, I really like this building where it says gifts on the side of the building right there. And I thought it was pretty cool that she was walking right past that. As I was like, yo, let me snatch that shot real quick. And then I have, this is a bar downtown Muskegon Rackets. This is with the body cap lens. This is the day I got that and I took that out and I was like, yo, let me go see what I can get with this lens. This is crazy, man. There is no noise in this image. And this is the body cap lens, dude. It's a $80 fisheye lens.
You know what? You're one of the only people I've seen that really goes out and shoots with that thing a fair amount at night. That's right. Pretty.
Well, dude, I mean, so the other day we were out and I see all these guys with tripods and I'm like, well, you guys got tripod. We can handhold 1 second. That's just more stuff you got to carry. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this is when I bought this, I was like, it's an F8. I was like, well, I'm gonna try it because it's fisheye. And then I'm like, oh, I can handhold 1 second. F8, okay. And then I get stuff like this. You know what I mean? And then I got this here. I haven't posted this one yet. So this is outside a dry cleaner. And this is funny because like when I shoot this stuff at night, this type of stuff right here is on a tripod. And like people ride past me and look at me all the time. Like, what the hell is this dude doing standing halfway in the street on his knees? And I'm out there on a tripod shooting low and getting shots of these buildings and stuff. But this is what I really like doing, man. And then I got this here. This is my buddy Nick. This is at Coast Guard Festival in Grand Haven. Once again, 1 second shot, handheld. You know what I mean? I don't think anything can beat that, man.
So, like, what would you call what you're doing right now? I mean, it's like street photography, but it's also sort of like a city still life too, because sometimes you feature people. Sometimes it's just like these neon lit buildings that just look so lonely in the middle of the night. It's right. Dude, it's a super cool series. So
I try to shoot people, you know what I mean? Because I want to see somebody doing something.
Sure.
And I've actually been doing that a lot with my landscape too. I mean, you saw the picture that I sent you the other day of you taking a picture of the lighthouse.
Right. Exactly.
It has a lot. It has more meaning to me, when I got somebody in the shot.
Oh yeah. It makes it more human. It adds feel to it. Yeah, I definitely recognize that.
So I like, man, I like shooting people. So I try to squeeze them in there. If I can get them in at night, for sure. Heck yeah.
So it's funny because, like, I think a lot of recognition that I've seen, since I've been, watching you with through the Olympus lens. It sounds cheesy, but there a lot of focus on your landscape work, but there's like always this people element going on, and it seems like it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, like with what you're doing. So I'm pretty excited to watch where this goes, where you end up heading with what you're doing. I think you should shoot a lot of people. You got a gift for that for sure. Whether it's like the portrait work or just putting them in a scene. So,
that's my plan, man. That's my plan. And I've been thinking, I'm gonna shoot everybody super wide too.
Yeah, it's funny because that's a
challenge. Right. I mean, you'll hear people, oh, you're not supposed to shoot people with wide angle lenses. I'm like, I don't care about all that. You know what I mean? I want to be different.
It's funny. So I get asked. That's one of those questions people ask, about rules. Right. And I'm like, you know what? Rules are something that somebody that with very little imagination put in place. Right. That's kind of how I feel about it. Somebody couldn't think outside the box. So
right. Exactly. I don't follow rules, man. I make the rules.
Right. It's a West Side thing. All right, cool. Well, I think it's probably a good place to wrap this show up. I really appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your work with everybody and sharing, where it started, where it's been, and kind of where it's headed. And it's pretty cool, I think, for people to see what else.
Sooner or later, I'll get used to looking at the camera.
What's that?
So sooner or later, I'll get used to looking right at the camera when I talk. I got a habit of looking at you, and I'm talking, and I look over here, and I'm not even looking at the camera.
Try being me. I've got monitors like right here and right here, but my camera's right there. So I keep looking over here to see your pictures.
Right.
It's a different experience for sure.
I'd like to thank Mike. I'd like to thank Mike for not being there today, so I could take his spot. Wherever you are, Mike.
So in saying that, I'm having another guest on for the next episode because Mike is not going to be on the next episode as well. This week it's work. The next episode it's play because that dude on vacation. He's gonna be on vacation somewhere. I think tropical, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Mike's gonna be playing. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Mike's on vacation. So the next episode I'm working on another guest for that. Stay tuned for that. And again, huge thanks to Jerry for coming on the show. And in the show notes, I'll make sure to link to all of Jerry's social accounts. I think the place you really want to follow him though is on Instagram, because his feed is just always just like, wow, okay.
And I don't got that many followers.
Definitely getting likes. Cool. So, hey, thanks again, Jerry. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. See ya.
All right. So